Hey guys, what's going on? Andrew coming at you, and in this one we're talking about how Swedes are different depending on the seasons and the weather. This is totally my experience, and if you were going to come to Sweden and maybe you got a cheap flight, you thought you might come in the fall or the winter, I'll talk about when I think you should come. If you're going to move here, I definitely think depending on when you move here is going to have something to do with how soon you make friends. Now, I'm also different in the summer and the winter, but I wanted to talk about starting with the fall. And the fall is one of my favorite seasons because I love so much watching all the leaves change and the nature. It's one of my favorite times to go run outside because it's not too cold yet. And I just love the smell of the woods in the morning taking a run. But there's this one week that's really difficult with fall, and that's usually after Höstlov. And Höstlov is when students get like a fall break. And being a teacher, I'm kind of used to this. Usually there's like the clocks change then as well for the fall/winter. And that week I could always come back to school and work was always so brutal because that's when you realize how dark it was, because I was on a different kind of schedule. And I always find right after Höstlov, that's when you really notice the darkness. And the problem in Sweden is if it gets really, really dark and there's no snow on the ground, it's just brutal. So what happens is that fall period, there's tends to be not so much snow yet. And so it's just really, really dark. And one of the main things I always notice about the darkness in Sweden, and I'm sure it's the same for Swedes, you just have less energy. You're more tired. I tend to drink a lot more coffee in the fall and the winter than I do in the summer because I'm just lethargic, I'm tired. And it does affect Swedes. I think they get used to the lack of darkness because they're professional, I guess, at it all this time. But if you're someone that's foreign, one thing I recommend is you have to find a way in time to get outside. Even if you're at work, if your work gives you like a 10-minute break or you get a half-hour break, I recommend, as many Swedes recommended to me, that you just get outside while the sun's really out for that 10 to 15 to 20 minutes. Now, the winter is actually something I've grown to really, really appreciate. Now, the winter can be miserable if it's dark, but I don't think it's as difficult as the fall because as long as there's snow on the ground, it really brightens everything up and it's kind of cozy to be in the winter. I enjoy it, but Swedes are going to be less friendly in the winter overall, I think, because, it's cold. Sometimes when it's snowing, it's really sloppy and messy outside, or it's cold and you're just going to point A to point B to get your food or shop, or maybe you go to a party and things, but it's still, I feel like people are a little bit less social than they would be. I've always experienced in the winter myself personally. I tend to stay inside, except I go out and run every day. I really recommend the same thing I said in the fall, that you still have to get some sunlight. Now, one thing you can do in the winter if you want to make friends in Sweden and have a group, I definitely recommend trying some winter activities. It seems most Swedes I've met, even though maybe they're less social in the winter, they find some kind of activities to do in the winter that they can do with other people and have fun. One of them is ice skating. I really enjoy ice skating, and that's something I've done. And then you have längdskidor, which is cross-country skiing. I only tried it a couple times, but I really, really loved it. So I actually think I'm going to buy some gear this summer and plan on doing cross-country skiing. So the point is, if you find activities that you can do, when I first came to Sweden, I sang in a choir. So we did some winter activities together and I was meeting people once a week. You have to make sure you're doing something like that. So it's good for your mental health, because if you come to Sweden by yourself, it's really easy to just stay inside and you're maybe not going to talk to so many people. And again, Swedes aren't mean in the wintertime. They're just not as outgoing and friendly just due to the weather. And like I said, the darkness overall, it just kind of zonks you out. Now, my favorite, besides fall, I really love the spring. Now in the spring, it's like you don't see all these Swedes outside. You walk in town and it just seems like a ghost town. And then all of a sudden, the first nice weekend in Sweden is always my favorite because suddenly, boom, people are everywhere. People are outside, especially here in Linköping. Once the ice cream stores open, people are getting ice cream. People are playing miniature golf. And it's like, hey, the winter period's over. Now we can finally all be outside and enjoying the lovely weather. So you'll suddenly see people everywhere and people start to get friendly. But the best time is in the summer as far as meeting people, because a lot of people get July off. And so maybe it might be dead depending on where you are in Sweden when you come. But a lot of people take their holiday in July, or at least some holiday in July, and they're sitting outside, they're taking a beer in the sun, or you maybe go to a party, like a house party or something like that. And people are just so open and friendly to talk and meet you because they don't have a care in the world. They're excited. They're enjoying the sun. They're taking one thing I always say about Swedes is they always enjoy the weather. And, if there's no God in Sweden, as far as like them being religious, the sun is definitely God here. And, a lot of people go out and enjoy the sun, and midsummer is an awesome time to meet people. Some of my best experiences when I first came to Sweden were midsummer parties because, when I first came to Sweden and I didn't understand a whole lot of Swedish, and I would go to parties. Yeah, maybe the first hour or two, people kind of didn't talk to me so much because maybe they were a little nervous. They didn't want to speak too much English. And I give them a couple hours and a couple drinks in. Swedes are super friendly. They were nice. They were excited to see me enjoying some kind of midsummer traditions. They wanted to see me try different food, and they were really welcoming, and it made me feel fantastic. So if you're going to come to Sweden and travel, by all means, if you get a cheap flight, then, you should come. But I recommend coming in June or July, June around midsummer time. But the thing you got to be careful of, and I always wonder, is when people travel to Sweden, there's got to be some people that don't know what midsummer is, and they come like the weekend of midsummer. And if you go to Stockholm in midsummer, it's going to be dead. There's going to be like not much going on, and it's not going to be so much fun. But if you can come in June, July, or August, those 3 months, if you're going to move here or come here, you're going to have the best time making friends. It takes time in Sweden to make friends, but once you make that friend, you're friends for life. I have people that we became really, really good friends. Let's say 6 months to a year went by. For whatever reason, life happens. We don't see each other. We meet again, and it's like things have never changed. And they're just as good of a friend to me then as they would be now. They would do anything for me. I would do anything for them, but it takes time. Even if you meet someone in June or July in the summer, they're going to be friendly, but that doesn't mean that you're going to automatically be their friend. You're going to have to make an effort. You're going to have to give it some time to build friendships. But I do believe you're going to have a much better time doing it than you would in the winter. If you get a cheap flight, though, and you want to come to Sweden at any time, I do recommend still coming. But if you can add the opportunity to come to Sweden twice, I definitely think Sweden's a different place in the winter and in the summer. I mean, I think it would be great to travel to Sweden if you want to ski, do some outdoor activities, if you're into that sort of thing. But everybody should at least give them a chance to come to Sweden in the spring or the summer, because the days are usually perfect. We get some weeks where it's warm, but overall, it's a really pleasant experience. So that's my interpretation of how Swedes are different and why they're different. If you agree with me or disagree with me, please write that in the comments below. If you like me doing these kind of videos, I would really love it if you could hit a thumbs up button. It really, really helps me out as it suggests more content, and it lets me know you like these kind of videos so I can continue to keep doing them. Really close to 10,000 subs, so if you would like to subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And I'll see everybody in the next video. Hej då!